Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing. These are just a few of the pieces we're going to be working on today. We have 3 projects. These are super simple projects. I've kept it simple this week because I've been very busy working on some new art pieces, which I'm very excited about. This is the project that we did at our local library last Saturday. As many of y'all know, I do teach a workshop at our library the first Saturday of every month. And this is what we did this month. Habitat for Humanity was very gracious in supplying us with plates and saucers. I just painted them a nice bisque white so we would all have the very same platform to work on. We all started out the same, just different cups and saucers, different shapes, things like that. But I did paint them white so that we would basically use napkins to make our own transferware. It was super fun. The first thing I've done is just arrange my cup and my bird the way that I want them so that I can work my flowers and my embellishments around them. What's going to flash up on the screen here in a minute is the new art piece that I'm working on. I want to show you that. That's where I've invested a lot of my time in the last few days. I do provide almost daily updates on my Facebook page, and I have been posting shorts of videos that I've done while working on that project. I am using napkins to basically create the pattern on this cup and saucer. I'm using these China blue napkins, which I love. I got these at Home Goods. They have spanned many projects at this point. We've used them at the library a couple times. This was the funniest thing at the library this time. It's the most dainty project we've ever done, and 2 of the women brought their husbands, which was hilarious. But they loved it. They had a great time. I'm just cutting out little parts and pieces of this napkin, and then I'm using Mod Podge to affix them to my cup and my saucer. It's just that simple, nothing super complicated here. I would have loved to have found like fine bone china with beautiful patterns, but I actually like the way that we did it at the library this last Saturday because it's an hour and a half craft class, and it would have been over really soon if we hadn't taken this particular step. Just gluing a cup and a saucer and a bird and embellishing them wasn't going to take very long. But adding the graphics from the napkins really helped fill up the class, and they absolutely loved it. I provided, I think, 6 different napkin patterns, and they were able to pick which one they wanted to make the craft their own. It was just really super fun. Everybody had a really good time, including the guys. It was hilarious. They really they had a good time. I teased them because they did pick the most dainty project we've ever done. But I don't think they knew what was coming their way. I'm going to embellish my little bird and my cup and my saucer with Spanish moss. The way that I put my bird in, I didn't quite make his feet touch the cup because I wanted him to set up straighter, and this saucer, all the cups and saucers are shaped a little bit differently, so all these projects come together a little differently. So I'm actually wedging some Spanish moss under his body so that he looks like he's actually, so he doesn't look like he's levitating on the cup or on the saucer. That's kind of how he looks without that Spanish moss. So I'm just taking little bits of pieces and embellishing where I think these things need to go, and I'll show that to you as we go. This is the super fun part of any project. And when I do things at the library, everything that you see that I'm doing to my project, I give them the opportunity to do to their project as well. So if I'm adding embellishments like these little flowers and bits and pieces and Spanish moss and all the things that we've added to this project, I'm also going to take it to the library with me, and they're going to have the opportunity to make their project just exactly like they see mine. They love that. For one thing, it's free, and for another thing, they get to make a great project and they learn new techniques. I did hear several of them talking about that. So there's my finished cup and saucer. Actually, it's not quite finished. I am going to add white wax to the bird, and if you know what that does to these little molds, this is just a resin bird, so it was definitely molded somewhere. I'm going to use these little finger gloves on my finger, and then I'm going to use Rub and Buff to go around the rim of that cup and saucer. I love that little detail. I love it because fine bone china often has that little gold rim, and it's usually hand painted. So I'm not worried about getting this perfect, and that's a great thing because I couldn't if I tried, really. And I'm really stuck between how I am sometimes between making sure that I can see to do the project, and then also struggling with realizing that you can't see what I'm doing. But what I'm doing is I'm using the gold Rub and Buff on my finger to just go around the rim of the cup and saucer. I got ahead of myself, and I was going to tell you that I waxed the bird, and I do wax the bird with white wax so you can see all those little feathers. I got confused about where we were, which I'm sure you're exactly where you're supposed to be. It's me that's I was confused about where I was. There you go. I'm adding Rub and Buff to that little handle too. I love little details like that. I love the way these are just, cute little simple projects that anybody can do. And this is why we did it at the library. Sometimes I work them really hard. Sometimes we have very complicated projects that I expect a lot out of them, but sometimes we just do a nice, simple, relaxing project like this. And they really appreciate that after I've given them a complicated project to do. Oh my goodness, sometimes I feel bad, so then I make sure that I hit them with a simple project the next time because I don't want to overwhelm them. Like I said, now I think I'm coming in with that white wax. This is just the Waverly brand white wax. I add actually some white acrylic paint to it because it's just not quite white enough. It's a little yellow. But I brush that on and then I wipe it off with a wet baby wipe. And I'm just going to do that until I'm satisfied with how all the details are popping out of that bird. This really does add just that last special touch. And also, I thought the bird was way too bright, and this really tones him down so that he basically matches that china blue really well. He's sort of, there's a lot of tones in that blue, and he's sort of the mid-tone at this point after you add the wax. I really love that project. I think he is just super cute. I made a few of those. I had a few plates and cups left over, so I made a few. I don't know if I'll take them to our fall shows, but I'll definitely put them away and take them next spring. Not that birds don't sell any time of year. Birds are pretty much around the year-round type project. You can do them and they'll sell. Those and sunflowers. A lot of people reserve sunflower stuff for fall, but it sells just about any time of year if you've got it. Now we're going to work on this. I don't even know what this is. It's a shelf. It's a little cubby. It's a lot of things, but it's ugly. And it's state that it is right now. So we're going to try to work on that. And y'all might think what I turn it into is ugly. And if you do, please don't tell me about it. I'm just kidding. Y'all can tell me anything you need to tell me. But the theme for our next Vintage Market Days is orange blossoms. And since we live in Southwest Florida, that's a perfect theme. And I was looking at this piece and I was thinking, I wanted to do a couple orange blossom projects, and this just seems so perfect. And I'll tell you why my artistic eye told me that. First of all, I love the green. It's the perfect color of green as far as I'm concerned, so I wanted to retain some of that, and I thought that would be a great starting point. And also, it's the simplicity of those little round knobs on the little doors. They are basically the shape of oranges, so I love things like that sort of play into whatever motif you're planning for a project. So that's why I chose this piece to do orange blossoms on, because it just had a lot of the right elements already there. Even the hardware cloth and the doors I thought were very vintagey and sort of agricultural. Anyway, I'm using my Spanish copper rub and buff to paint out that hardware cloth. It looks very cheap, and it's painted. So, and it's not even painted well. So adding that Spanish copper rub and buff really takes it up a notch right away. And you can see I've already sanded off most of that green paint. I wanted to leave some of it because that was appealing to me. I really love the color, but I wanted to make it look like it had been worn off. This is going to be very, vintage, very, very rustic. So I want it to look like old Florida, an old Florida orange crate. If you've seen them, you know that they just have the old, ephemera on them, the old orange citrus labels, things like that. I come across them at the bins quite a bit. In fact, I did actually obviously get this piece at the bins as well. That's where I get all my good upcycling stuff. Now I have printed out these graphics. These were from a combination of places: Creative Fabrica, Etsy. I just looked for vintage Florida orange ephemera. It was easy to find orange ephemera, but a lot of it said California, and we're really going for the Florida citrus here, so I had to be careful and look them over pretty good to make sure they said Florida instead of California. I have printed these out on rice paper. I ordered some rice paper for the first time, and I've decided I like it better than the tissue paper that I usually decoupage on for one main reason, and that is the lazy crafter in me likes that they are already cut down to 8.5 by 11 sheets, so I don't have to cut the paper down and then tape it to my carrier sheet. I did tape it to a regular piece of printer paper though to carry it through my printer. Not quite sure if it was necessary, but it is super light, and I didn't want to take a chance that it would get caught up in my printer. I'm using the very lightest, thinnest coat of Mod Podge to stick this down. I tell you that every time because there's no point in saturating my paper. No point at all. I also want you to know that I have sealed this paper after I printed on it. I gave it a good coat of matte sealer. I just used whatever I had on hand. I usually use acrylic Mod Podge spray, but I didn't have any, so I just use a Rust-Oleum brand sealer, and it's matte because that's the finish that I like. And I'm just cutting my graphics apart, particularly the oranges and the blooms, to fit them how I want them on the top of that piece. I wanted the labels affixed there. I thought that would be really neat. And then, as you see me do so many decoupage projects, I'm just randomly cutting my images apart and placing them where I want them to be. There's really no rhyme or reason. It's just what I think looks good and what makes me happy. Same thing, I'm just using my Mod Podge, a very light, thin coat, to put all my graphics on the top of that. I'm going to do that for a while. I have the sides to cover as well. I have the top, and then I decide that I'm going to do something with the front as well. I just thought it needed it, and we'll talk about that as we go. I did order that rice paper from Amazon. I keep threatening to start an Amazon store, and I haven't done that yet. I had a super incredibly busy week. Not sure what I accomplished really, but I did get a lot done on my artwork, which it's summertime in Southwest Florida. Of course, we don't have shows. It's way too hot. And frankly, half our population goes back up north during the summer. So we are a seasonal community for sure. And so I spend the summer creating artwork because when my fall shows start, I want to have new art pieces to feature in our shows. So this is the first summer for a while that I've really been able to just concentrate on doing that. And I'm super excited about that. It's been a really good thing. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to arrange it so that you can, but there's no way I can get that long piece in the frame. Basically, I'm just adding one of those labels, you can see it right there on the screen, to each end of this piece. And I will show you that. See, there you go. I've added it to both ends. When I'm going to do a project like this, I just print out enough pages so that I can finish the project without having to go back in and print more pages. So I just, have a general idea of the space I need to cover. And of course, I measure things to make sure that my images are printed out to the size that I need them to be. I don't like doing things twice, so I always make sure that I print out enough without having to run back in and reprint things. I'm sorry, I've been struggling with some sinus issues, and I did take some allergy medication, but it's got my throat all dry. Now I've decided that little skirting on the front of this needs some graphics as well, and it really did. It really balances things out more, and it does add something that needed to be there. And again, I'm just using little parts and pieces that I've already printed out. I'm cutting them according to how I need them. Again, using the lightest, thinnest coat of Mod Podge always. Honestly, if you decoupage a lot and you've tried some of the new mediums, laying on a thick coat really isn't even an option with those mediums because their consistency is so runny and thin compared to the original Mod Podge. And so I basically thin down my Mod Podge quite a bit because I don't want to have this problem where I'm just putting it on in globs, because that's not going to help. Now you can see I'm just taking my X-Acto knife here and cutting off the excess. I usually sand that off, but it's not in a great place where I can really get my finger sander in there. But I do finger sand it along the edges, you can see that. I really love how this project turned out. I was completely on the fence about this for a while, and then after it all came together, I really loved it. And orange blossoms aren't necessarily something that I love or have even really thought about before, but since the theme of our show is orange blossoms, I always try to provide a few things that play into that theme. The show promoters, they work so hard to get their vision out there, and they spend so much money on advertising, and so when people come to a show that the theme is orange blossoms, they do expect to see some of those, thematic items there. And I think that's a good idea. Anyway, that is super pretty. I really love that. And I love the way that the green is the same color of green that's in the graphics. Here I am. I'm distressing is what I'm doing. I'm distressing those graphics back a little bit because the paint is so distressed. So they don't need to look brand new. They need to look like they've been hanging on a while too. That's just a 120 grit on my finger sander that I've been using to distress those graphics. Like I said, I really love the way this turned out. I was on the fence about it the entire time. But after it all, and that's the way it usually goes, isn't it? Like, after you put so much work into a project, then you just feel compelled to love it, right? Like, I can't hate it. I spent so much time on it. But I am coming back in with white wax. I think that's what I'm doing now. Or maybe that was Mod Podge. I don't know. But I do finish this project with white wax as well. Not white wax, clear wax, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. It's Friday, finally. I needed it to be Friday. Tomorrow I have exciting things to do. My husband and I are going to another farm to take pictures of some Highlands cows and some miniature donkeys, and we'll see what else is there. I know they have some goats, which I am not interested in. I have drawn a goat. I do have one in my Portraits from the Pasture collection, but they are not my favorite. Now I've shown you I'm coming in with that clear wax and I'm waxing the top. I'm waxing anywhere there's paint, even if I didn't put it there, which I did not paint this project at all, I want you to know. I just sanded it down. That's all I did. I did not paint it. Very proud of myself for not painting something. Like I said, I tried really hard to keep the project simple this week because I knew I was only going to have a limited amount of time. But I did want to put something up. If you follow my posts on YouTube, I have been posting regular updates on my artwork, whatever it is I've been working on, and my progress. And also I've been posting shorts. I do film myself drawing sometimes. Not the most exciting thing to watch, but if you're looking for, a tutorial, I'm not that girl, but as far as fine art goes. So there we go. I love that. I think that is so pretty. I love the way the little skirting in front turned out. Now we have our third project. These are some little straw hats that I picked up at the bins. Where else would I have picked them up? And I had previously painted them white and they were way too white for me. I did not like that. So I'm coming in with my very watered down brown wax. Watering it down doesn't really change the color at all. It does change the viscosity, so it's not, near as thick as it was, and it's also easier to wipe back. I just love the way it applies much better if you water it down. I had decided I just did not like them stark white, and I also love what's happening here when I'm applying the wax. It's actually taking some of the paint off, and those are looking not brand new anymore, not shiny, but just the right amount of age. They look weathered and a little well worn, which is what I'm going for here. As always, when do we not want our things to look weathered and well worn? I mean, isn't that a thing? I'm not sure why it's a thing, to be honest, but it is. Now I have these tags. I've cut these down. These were some wood slats. They're the maybe 3 by 7 inch wood slats that you buy at the Dollar Tree. They come in 6 in a pack or something. I just used my miter shears to notch the corners to make a couple tag shapes. I have 2 of these hats, so you don't see it in the video, but I do make 2 of them. I'm just tacking my fabric onto my hat with hot glue. This is fabric that I picked up somewhere, probably the bins, and I just tore it into strips. And I'm going to tie it on the back, but then I'm going to add a bow because I didn't have quite enough of the fabric to tie it around and leave a long tail. So I tied it around. I just made sort of a sash around the hat, or a hat band, I guess is what that's called. And I'm going to tie it and then trim it, and then I'm going to add a bow with long tails. So you'll see that, like I said, I just didn't have enough of that fabric to tie a bow with long tails like I wanted to. So I had to do it in 2 pieces. I know you're picking up what I'm putting down, so. Also, I don't know if yes, I have done it. I've painted those tags. They're a really light wood, and you could definitely decoupage on top of that, but in order to make them, more finished, I did paint them with whatever chalk paint is in my frame there. That's chalk paint from Hobby Lobby. It's super thick. It's a really great color as well, but I can't see what color it is right now on the screen. I'm just going to use hot glue to glue my big giant bow with my big giant tails to my hat. These are just, these aren't meant for people to wear. They're small. These are just to hang on the top rung of a ladder, or if you have a coat tree, or I have a coat tree in my house. Actually, it's got pictures hanging on it. But if you have a decorative farmhouse ladder or something like that, this could hang on there very easily. I love the way this turns out. It's just, again, one of those super simple projects that is a great way to add some decor to your house according to whatever style that you like. And also, you're going to see what I do here. It's just another sneaky way I can put artwork on something. On home decor, that's what I do. If it's got a face, I tell people, if it's got a surface, I can put artwork on it. And generally, you know, it's my artwork because that's what we're selling at our shows. And I know y'all are probably sick and tired of seeing my artwork. I'm sorry, but that's just what I do, and it's kind of what I have to do because it's what I do. I don't know where I've gone. I do this. I've gotten so much better at it. I really have, I promise. But I know I've gone to get my decoupage paper that I made. Again, this is rice paper. I sealed it with some acrylic sealer, and now I'm going to cut the images out and I'm going to decoupage them onto that little tag. This is my little cow that I'm going to put on this tag called Daisy. She's a Jersey cow. One of my favorite little drawings that I've ever done. The second cow I ever drew. Drawing has been such an escape for me. It's such good. It's just so therapeutic. If you don't create artwork, and you're capable of creating artwork and you're not doing it, I would encourage you to create artwork. Whatever it is, if it's crafting, whatever it is, you know, we're not just here to give you ideas and inspiration so you can make a bunch of pretty things. It's also a great way to express yourself, you know, expend your creative energy. You know, I think we all have a good bit of that. So I'm going to make 2 of those tags to go on my hat, and you're going to see here, or on each of my hats, I'm going to thread some string into that tag, and I'm going to make a hang tag for this hat. It's going to hang down a little bit, and y'all, like, if you don't know, you don't know. But if you do know, you know somebody that had a hang tag on her hat. If you're my age and above, you definitely know. If you're not, then you don't know, and you can Google it. But you'll get a good laugh if you Google who wore a hang string on her hat. Just Google that and tell me what comes up. In fact, I was going to help y'all out a lot and put the word howdy on here, but I didn't because basically I just ran out of time, but I thought that would be super cute if I did do that. But I didn't. I love the way that turned out. That's so cute. I made 2 of those just like that. I don't make everything that I make for every piece of artwork that I have. I have specific pieces of art that I make certain things with. And I always put Daisy on a hat. And I don't put anything else. I don't put any of my other cows or artwork on a hat. She's the only one. I'm just adding some little yellow daisies to that hat. You can see the fabric has some yellow daisies in it. And, you know, my little cow is named Daisy. So there's that. We're nearing the end of our video. I hope y'all enjoy these projects. Let me know which one was your favorite. Stick around to the end of the video so you can see how everything turns out. I'm so glad y'all joined me this week. Can't wait to show you the projects I'm working on for next week, and I'll keep showing you the progress I'm making on my little Highlands cow. His name is Waffles. He's super cute. Anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.